Welcome to the After the Show Movie Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Ace Scully and Sid Talk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Welcome. Hello, Sid Talk. Welcome to After the Show.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I forgot what you were doing there for a second, so I'm catching up. I'm good.
Basically, I was just waiting for the music to end so I could speak.
Oh, I know.
All right, Sid Talk, what was the before the After the Show discussion?
There wasn't much except me talking about this movie, and then you talking a little bit audio, which everybody loves the technical aspects of things.
Audio.
So that's about it. Not a whole lot going on. I'm in The Sims, of course. Controlling little lives.
All right, so we're going to review a movie this week, Sid Talk.
You're sounding very low energy there. What's going on? So we're gonna.
All right. So it's Saturday, March the 16th. This is After the Show number 830. We're a movie review podcast. Every week we look at a new movie. This week we're looking at the movie Argylle. It's a 2023 release, out now on streaming services, rated R. It's from our friends at Universal. It's also a Apple film. Did you notice that at the beginning?
I did.
Original.
I did.
So, Sid Talk, what's the synopsis of the movie Argylle?
Kind of Romancing the Stone-ish. Kind of, sort of. Puts me in mind of Romancing the Stone. An author gets tangled up in a thing. She's part of a thing. There's spies involved.
Yeah.
Deadly stuff. Espionage.
All
Bryan
right.
Cranston. I was going to say Walter. What's his name? Walter White
from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, and Dua Lipa and Superman. It's just a festival of things happening. And Opie's daughter. I mean, it's everything. Everything you could want it to be.
You could probably write that synopsis for every movie. It's a festival of things happening.
Festival of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, I'll give you the one off the box.
Probably best, yeah.
A reclusive author who writes espionage novels about a secret agent and a global spy syndicate realizes the plot of the new book she's writing is starting to mirror real-world events in real time.
Okay, I think mine's better. I'll be honest.
All right, Sid Talk. Argylle, the latest film from director Matthew Vaughn. What did you think?
Okay, here we go. I enjoyed it, and it's very flawed. So, I'm good at balance. Balance is a key here in my late 50s. Late 50s, yeah. I'm 56, so I'm moving into the late 50s. I can accept that I enjoy this as a whole, but my goodness.
Could you say this for all of Matthew Vaughn's films, though?
I mean, every film is flawed, but this is like flawed. So I've said it with a little bit of, it's not just flawed like the word. It's like, I can pick and find all kinds of stuff that makes it just dumb and could be unentertaining, but I happen to enjoy it. So I can accept both of those the duality of this movie.
At the beginning of the review, I mentioned that it was R-rated. I was actually wrong on that. It is not R-rated. It is PG-13. And it is kind of, for a violent film, pretty bloodless.
Very bloodless, yeah. I thought of that.
And mostly Matthew Vaughn films are R-rated, Kick-Ass and Kingsman. But yeah, this one is not. So I like Matthew Vaughn's movies. I really love Kick-Ass.
You do. I know you do.
I find Kingsman to be really entertaining as well. This, when it started, it just felt like another Kingsman movie. I thought it just felt the same. It's the same sense of humor. The same trying to be clever sometimes. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely, 100%. Get what you're saying.
the same kind of ropey CG. Matthew Vaughn's pretty famous for his CG doesn't always look great, does it?
No, and I don't get it. Like, do you want to be like old Doctor Who's? Is that the objective?
The bit at the beginning where Argylle is in his little golf cart thing. What the hell was that?
Yeah.
It looked like a video game, right?
Yeah.
Now, it could be explained away as like it's not real things happening.
Sure, it's fantastical.
Yeah.
It's not fantastical like The Witcher / Superman.
No.
That's one thing I had to let go of very quickly was, okay, I get the standard here. It is a certain level of
And it's goofy.
Just kind of go along for the ride, right? Don't think too deep. But unfortunately, you don't have to scratch the surface very far to find like, oh, yeah, the look of that. I just was like, whatever, we'll just go with it. It's fun. It's ridiculous. It's wacky.
Yeah. And it made me think, as I was watching that sequence, is this like actually a dream sequence or something? It looked so bad. It couldn't.
Right.
You know, when we watched the new Indiana Jones movie and there was that like chase sequence where they were in tuk-tuks and it looked really lousy looking.
Yeah.
It kind of brought me to that. I was like, why can't we do like decent car chases? If we're going to do them in CG, why can't the CG be really great and very convincing? It seems like people take the shortcut around everything.
Yeah, and you did mention how much this movie costs.
This movie cost $200 million, according to Apple, who paid for the movie. They actually state, I was just looking it up to see if it was true, and they stated they paid $200 million for this movie, which actually Avengers Endgame cost the same. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So where did $200 million go in this movie? I would get my accountants.
What's the movie math?
I'd be like, did somebody siphon some money off in this movie? Because I don't see it where it is.
We're being very critical, but it's because it leaves room for you to be critical.
Weirdly, you know, when I say I judge a movie on if it gets any emotion from me, I had a tear in my eye at one point in this movie.
What?
And you'll be like, when?
Yeah,
right?
when?
It was when the coloured smoke was flying about and they were killing everybody.
Wow.
It was a mixture of the music, the visuals, and I just have the, this is like cinema stuff that I like. I like the spectacle, what is happening here.
Okay.
It wasn't like a sad emotion. It was like happy.
Oh, wow, because I thought that was really dumb and awful.
No, I was like, I would watch this sequence over and over again.
Really was like, oh God, first of all, I had to let go of that first part because it was so awful. And now this, oh my God. So
and then straight after it, there was another sequence of oil. That sequence was awesome too. There was two awesome sequences.
Yeah, there's ice skating, but on
oil.
Oil, yeah. Didn't mind that, strangely.
I mean, it was like two very stylistic cinematic sequences back to back, basically. The film was lulling a bit for me until those two things hit, and then I was like, I like this.
You say cinematic sequences.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like
it's all that though, right?
Yeah, but very stylistic or something. Yeah. I mean, it was really fun, the sequence with the colored stuff and the love hearts and the...
See, I disagree. I thought it was really boring, and I was just waiting for it to be over with. So this is why we're married.
And I was smiling, and there was a tear in my eye.
Wow.
So...
I might have to think about that.
So it worked for me on that level. But then when it got to the very, very end and it's just like a fight, I thought somebody was going to fall off something. Luckily they didn't. It seemed like it was going that way, didn't it? Oh, somebody's falling off a ship, possibly. But that part didn't do much for me. But those two sequences, they kind of made the movie for me. I also like some of the clever kind of, we've not really explained the story. Explain the story. You're good at that.
The story is she's an author and she's written these spy novels, and now we're introduced to the idea that she's actually the spy, and at some point in her past, someone has commandeered her mind to work for this very bad organization who wants to do what? I never figured it out.
No.
And so she's like amnesia. So think of that as old fashioned, right? She's got amnesia. She's been convinced she's an author. She's writing these books about spies, but they're true stories. And now the good guys and the bad guys are all trying to like get this file of all kinds of information, which is a super boring premise. Just like if it happens in Mission Impossible, you know, the list of all of our agents. And
it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's going to be exposed and they're all going to be dead. I don't care. So that was unfortunate because I never understood what the bad guy's objective is.
I actually didn't in this movie.
So in this movie, we have an organization, a dark espionage spy organization who's trying to run the world. And his lair is pretty cool.
Yes.
He's very bad. It's Walter White from Breaking Bad. But there's not even a hint. And then we have a CIA guy who is, you know, the good guy or whatever. Yeah. He's got his own lair. But we actually have nothing in the story tells you that Walter White choreographs assassinations of world leaders, or that he caused an avalanche that killed something and got the oil rights to a whole country. Like, nothing like that at all. It's just, he's a bad guy.
I felt like I'd missed what his deal was.
Like, what's his plan other than to get this information
His
back?
deal is he's a bad guy.
Yeah, and the information we're getting is that someone put together a file that would expose Walter White and all of his bad doings. And, of course, now it's a cat and mouse game. Haha, cat. Between who's going to get that file and turn it over to the proper authorities. See, when I say it, it just sounds like a 1965 TV show, right?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, so what's this guy? Is he got somebody trying to run for president? Is he going to try to start a war somewhere? And guess what? Nothing. There's nothing about his evilness. I wasn't threatened by him at all, except that he was just a jerk, you know?
That's it's like in the Kingsman movies, there's always like a really good plot as to what is, you know, the world's going to end because of these bad guys.
Yeah, what's the threat?
Yeah, there's always a very good threat in those movies, whereas in this one, it's like they decided, well, let's just gloss over that. It's just a bad guy. Like,
yeah.
Unless somewhere it said what he was going to do, but I didn't notice it.
No, I didn't.
I was like, is he going to blow up the world?
I was trying to pay close attention and never cottoned on to it.
No. So even there was a sequence towards the end where he was in his room and he was just about to get the shotgun off the wall. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, hold on, what's he after?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what he's after apart from this list of people, which doesn't seem that.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
And then it's all twisty, turny, like, oh, she's a good guy, but she's a bad guy, but she was really a bad guy. And then the bad guys brainwashed her.
It got a bit too twisty, turny at one point.
Yeah.
I liked it the first time. I thought that was like good, where spoilers, we reveal that the novels she's writing are actually the memories of her past. I enjoyed that. But then when we kind of like do it again, but like in reverse and then again.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe there's too many little reveals here. We don't need all of those. I would have maybe snipped it.
Snip, snip, snip.
And that would have saved you 50 million of those dollars, maybe. But yeah, it seemed overly like convoluted. I mean, it wasn't hard to follow. It was just like, oh, are we just going to keep doing the, I
feel like it's a little hard to follow, as in, what's the purpose of these characters actually at all, other than this file? If we want to say the good things were, like in the beginning when she's now first introduced to the real spy, who is Rockwell guy.
Yeah.
She intermingles the image of the spy she created in her books with him. And so when we're watching him fight, he turns into Superman, and then Rockwell, Superman, Rockwell. That was really fun because she thinks she's losing her mind because she's got an image of the spy guy that she wrote about. And when she looks at Rockwell, all of a sudden he turns into him,
right?
Into the guy she made up. That was pretty fun, right? Like a different twist.
Yeah.
But then what happens is, which is weird, because then you're like, okay, she's the author. She wrote the books. This guy's the spy. Him and Superman are the same person, right?
Right.
So the fictional version of Sam Rockwell is like this really buff, cartoon-looking guy. And the reality is it's Sam Rockwell.
Right.
But later we find out that the Superman guy, the chiseled spy, isn't Sam Rockwell. It's her.
Yes.
She's the spy in her books.
Surprise.
Right. So then it just made no sense. Like, I can't get my head to be like, why? I mean, it looked cool, but I want that to make sense. And it didn't ever make sense.
So you had some problems with the plot.
I feel like the plot was to get that master file back to the good guys.
That
right?
was literally it, wasn't it?
Right. And so that's very basic, and I get it. We have lots of basic stories in movies because that's what you do. But all the little twisty, turny things are very, what's the word?
Flimsy.
Flimsy's a good word, but also that was not one word. Okay, the guy who wrote it, I know you like him, and we've liked his other movies.
Yes.
But it's really, really up his own ass.
Oh, this wasn't actually written by him. It was written by Jason Fuchs.
Okay, well, Fuchs, that sounds familiar. But the guy directing it, right,
yes,
would have some input. Well, whoever wrote it, you're assuming a lot of things. You're not telling me the whole story. You're not telling me the whole story about any of it. It's just also, oh, here's the phrase. It's flash over substance.
I mean, you could say that about all of his movies for sure.
I disagree because I think Kingsman in that has some substance, as in, you know, it all fits together. It tells you the story. It tells you about the people and with their motivations and the purposes. I get all that with a lot of flash on top.
Yeah.
This was like, da 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 da. Oh, and they pull back the veil or the curtain, and there's no Wizard of Oz. You know what I mean? Like the guy's not there. There's nothing there.
Right.
Which is unfortunate because it's so actual fun.
It's actual fun.
It's actual fun. I want it to be good and fun. I guess I can't have it all.
You cannot. All right. So let's get on to the, well, overall, I will say I enjoyed it, but I can see the flaws also.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of fun. There's some cool music. It made me shed a tear, weirdly. I don't even know what that was about.
That is very weird, but I'm interested because that is not you at all.
No, I think I was just, this is really enjoyable, this scene. I like the colors. Maybe I'm just so basic, you know?
I'm glad you said it.
I like the colors and the shooting and smiling. There was some smiling, remember?
But it was actually supposed to be like the consummation of the relationship that they've been missing out on because she's been hijacked for 5 years and we know they were an item before, and it's supposed to be like them having sex essentially, but they're actually dancing and killing everyone in a swirl of colorful smoke. See, when I say it, it sounds really dumb.
But it was very fun.
But I'm glad it jerked out some emotions from you.
It jerked me in the right places.
I didn't mean that, but that came from somewhere interesting.
All right, let's get the cast of this movie. Henry Cavill plays Argylle. Or does he? Well, he does.
Yeah.
What do you think of Henry?
He was fine. I mean, he's playing the suave, cartoonish, you know.
He's quite funny.
Yeah.
And he doesn't say a ton in the movie, to be fair. Just some little one-liners here and there, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But I found him funny. And he pops up every now and then in our imagination.
I do like him, so I think he's fine.
Yeah. Bryce Dallas Howard, who is pretty much the star of the movie, Ellie Conway. What do you think of Bryce?
I like her, and yet
I hate her.
No, there's a certain flatness.
Do you find that when she's in those Jurassic Park movies as well?
Yes, and then there are moments of like she really kicks into like there's everything's there, and then there's like just.
I love her when she's ice skating.
Yes, the ice skating was really good. Then there are moments when things occur to her, like you're zooming in on her and she like realizes, oh, this is who I am. And now I have to manipulate everybody one way or the other.
Yeah.
Those are good. And then there are other times when it's just like she's intentionally trying to be like middle.
Yeah.
Sort of like,
I mean, she does have a duality of sorts in this movie, doesn't she?
True.
So maybe it was on purpose, but I get what you're saying. Sam Rockwell plays Aidan Wilde. He's Argylle, or is he? No, he's not.
No.
He's the other guy.
See, that's what's confusing.
He's the other guy, the John Cena guy.
Totally confusing.
Yeah. So what do you think of Sam?
I like him. I mean, again, he has moments of really fun.
He does the Sam Rockwell thing.
But then there's the flatness there too sometimes. Like he's just delivering the line like, and now we're going to do the thing. And while that might be part of his character, what we find out is he's totally in love with her from years ago. And now she's been out of his life for 5 years and he's trying to basically save her.
But he's been watching her all the time.
But he's real flat about things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It seems kind of like the vibe went strange, you know?
We've got Bryan Cranston as Director Ritter. He's really twirling the mustache.
Yes.
I mean, he doesn't have a mustache.
He's the director of the organization of bad guys.
Yeah. I like Bryan Cranston. I'll watch anything with him in it. And this was a thing with him in it.
Right on.
We've got Dua Lipa as LaGrange. Now,
don't blink.
Look at the poster for this
I know. I saw that. What are you people doing?
They're trying to trick you.
Yeah.
Now we know after we've seen it. But if you're coming in here for Dua Lipa, you know, she's in maybe 10 minutes of the movie? Or
and
is it less?
She's good. She's fine. She does exactly what the character she's playing, which is a fictional character.
Yeah, I think she's very good, but like she's literally...
I mean, she's good as in she's supposed to be vampy and strong combined. Yes. I'm not making that up. That's the way she is. And she does she's captivating. I would like to have her for later for her to have like, oh, she's actually this other character, and then we get to know her. That's what I was looking for.
I thought that was going to happen, but it never did. In fact, you thought that Sofia Boutella was the character that she played was going to be Dua Lipa, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
Maybe that would have been better. We've got John Cena as Wyatt. He's just playing his funny John Cena thing.
Yeah, but what he does is funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give him that.
And
he's the most solid, consistent character and behavior in the movie. But here's the deal. He's fictional.
Yes.
He's a fictional version of what we find out later is the Sam Rockwell character. Not the... See, it's confusing, right? Even when I say it, I try to keep it straight. So in her books, there is Henry Cavill, who's Superman, the spy. And then there is... Yes. And then there is the other guy. What's his name?
John Cena. As Wyatt.
As his sidekick / clever one, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the lady who's the genius in the Jeep with the computer. Lady and the genius in the Jeep is always the same person in the story and in real life, which is confusing.
She is, yeah.
Then the John Cena person is actually Rockwell. And then the Superman is actually Our Lady. It's all very confusing.
So when Bryce Dallas Howard's character Ellie is writing the novel, she's writing the men characters in a fantasy way, whereas the female characters are just females who, like, she doesn't change them.
Exactly as she remembers them.
Yes. But she makes
I'm guessing if people are listening to this, it's all very confusing.
She makes the men hunky and strong. Like, I don't know if that's...
Yes, what is that all about?
Is that because she wants to sell the books, or is that because that's her fantasy?
Well, no, remember, she's not really trying to sell books. It's Cranston manipulating her to tell him all her secrets.
Yeah,
see, that's a whole other level.
But the books are selling as well, though.
Yeah, the books are just a way for Cranston and his woman, who's the mother from Home Alone, by the way, Catherine O'Hara, and they're put her in like a trance of sorts, right?
Yep.
Not hypnotic, but like
suggestion.
Yes, they've created a character for her. They're pretending to be her parents, and now they want her to write these books because it's going to then reveal all the real secrets that are buried in her mind.
Correct.
It just seems like
when we talk about it, I like it better. It sounds more fun.
I think people are confused right now, and they're like, I have to watch it.
Yeah.
Because there's no way in hell any of this makes sense.
But I do think when you're watching it, it doesn't not make sense. It's not super stupidly confusing. They do it well enough that you go, okay, I get what's happening. But they do throw a lot at you in the middle of the movie. The middle of the movie is like a information dump. And you're like, whoa, what's happening? Oh, that's happening now? Oh, we've changed to that? Oh, we're doing this? You know, a lot in the middle. I think the beginning and the end are more simple than the middle part.
I agree.
So, directed by Matthew Vaughn, Kingsman, the Kick-Ass franchise, Layer Cake. He's made lots of movies before. He was actually Guy Ritchie's producer for Lock, Stock and Smoking Barrels and Snatch back in the day. What do you think of him, Matthew?
I mean...
He has a particular style.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a comic book that came to life.
Kind of, yeah.
But in a adult... This is the thing. It's adult, but also I'd put a slash and write juvenile right next to it. It's like both of those.
Yes.
And Kingsman displays that, doesn't it? Because it'll have like, on one hand, you'll be like, that was a really clever, cool action sequence. And the next, he's talking about anal sex. And you're like, that's supposed to be funny, like that part?
Exactly.
This movie doesn't go that far. It's not like Kingsman. It's not trying to be shocking. It's trying to be clever more than anything, right? It's a different kind of thing.
Kind of on the lowdown, though. I don't feel much cleverness happening.
But because like Kick-Ass and Kingsman, like they really go for it because they're R-rated, this one kind of has to hold back, it feels like. So it doesn't 100% feel like a Matthew Vaughn thing. I think the action sequences are most definitely him. When you punch somebody in a Matthew Vaughn movie, they kind of like, they land very weirdly. It looks very painful. People land on their necks and they also like fold in half a lot. Yeah,
there's a lot of that. But I like that instead of the kind of standard, like, and then fall over.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone knows exactly what I was doing when I made that sound.
I'll isolate that little bit of audio there, and that'll be the introduction.
Like they wobble their shoulders and their arms, and then they fling themselves on the floor. So this was a little more like, I don't know, Realistic? I don't know. I've never seen fights like this, so I don't know if it's realistic.
All right. IMDb reviews. What are those, Sid Talk?
Those are reviews on the IMDb, which is Internet Movie Database.
It is.
And they're ones that you like that have 1 star because it's hilarious to you when people rate movies so lowly. They take the time of their life.
Okay. The first guy says, it's proper bad. He says, spoiler alert, it's not good. It makes no sense. And I wish I had had my plums punched instead of watching it.
Oh, my.
Plums. I like that.
Almost being punched seems unreasonable.
Second guy says, it's the worst movie I've ever seen. Of course.
Of course.
I would have walked out if I hadn't paid for it, which disappointed me because there's so many people in the movie I'm a fan of. I can't remember laughing one time during the entire movie. And there's a post-credit scene which ties it to Kingsman, which sucked. There is. There is a post-credit scene which does tie it to Kingsman, but it didn't surprise me. It wasn't like...
Well, why? It didn't surprise you because it's the guy.
At the end of...
but here's the deal.
Split. At the end of Split by M. Night Shyamalan.
Spoiler coming up.
I literally gasped. I won't spoil it, but I gasped.
Well, you've already spoiled it. At the end of Split, there's something.
Well, at the end of any M. Night Shyamalan, you'll either gasp or roll your eyes.
True that.
One of the two. So, yeah. But this didn't do that for me. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. I guess we'll see more movies in this vein, right? The third guy says, it's like watching a boat full of leaks. I took my seat. I had my fingers crossed that Matthew Vaughn, Kingsman, had resurrected his career with a romping good spy story. The opening with a red-hot Dua Lipa and Henry Cavill was upbeat, but alas, the sight of Cavill's haircut onwards, it was all downhill.
Picking on his haircut.
Yeah. I mean, it was supposed to be a funny haircut.
True that.
Get a refund before you sit down. And that's it for those guys. So let's give this movie, Argylle, a score. I am going to give Argylle a 6 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 5.
Well, I had a tier and you didn't.
I did not.
So I have to elevate it slightly. But I mean, I had fun at the movies.
Exactly. That's the thing. You can be like, you know what? That was a fun afternoon. It was nice. It's chilly outside. We cozied in, had some popcorn. It was fine. Empty calories, as we like to say here.
Fun fact, I'm a really sucky moviegoer because I dislike popcorn. I won't eat it. I won't touch it. It sucks. I won't suck it.
Every once in a while, you try it, and then you're like, ugh.
Yeah,
no.
It tastes like polystyrene. I just do not like it. But
I can guarantee you that my popcorn that I make on the stove in the pan does not taste like polystyrene.
I am more of a chocolate-covered raisins moviegoer.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Thank you to Universal. Next week, we're going to look at a new DC movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, starring your favorite, Aquaman.
My favorite.
You like him, don't you? Hunky Aquaman.
Not really.
Oh, I'm mistaken.
You are.
Starring somebody you don't like that much, Aquaman.
Don't dislike. I just don't have a thing for him at all. No.
All right, movie recommendations. I'm going to give you 2 Matthew Vaughn movies that I really like. Layer Cake, which is one from a long time ago. It stars James Bond, Daniel Craig, and Sienna Miller, who was in Curb Your Enthusiasm this week. Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
And I also will say Kick-Ass. I like both Kick-Ass movies. I know people didn't like the second one as much, but I see them as one big movie, and I really like it. There's also going to be another Kick-Ass movie, Sid Talk.
Aye. And I am going to recommend, or take it as you will. I don't really care what you do with this information. These are some movies that I watched in the 20th century, because I only have 2 choices, the 20th and the 21st. These are all from the 20th century, and they're like action-adventure-ish, and we have Charlotte's Web. Aww.
Oh,
Munster
Charlotte.
Go Home, which is the Munsters in a movie, which is kind of wild and not great, but fun, just like the show. The Witches. Of course, we all love The Witches.
Yeah.
That was where children get turned into mice. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Speaking of Wonka from a while back. And Dr. Dolittle, the original. Where at the end, there's a whale. And I was always like, what?
A whale?
Oh, whale. A giant whale.
I don't remember.
The original? Did you see the one with Eddie Murphy?
No.
I didn't either.
I didn't. I saw the original. But no.
That's what I'm recommending.
All right, A Scully stuff. I've been playing a game on Steam, a new game this week called Balatro. I think that's how you say it. Balatro. It's a poker game. You know me, Sid Talk. I don't play card games.
I do know you. Yes.
I don't really understand card games. That's why I don't play them. I've never really took to playing them. But what Balatro is, it's a poker game with a roguelite element to it. So you collect cards as you win games, and then you can play these cards in the next rounds of poker, getting you further each time. So I just got a Joker card that lets me triple my score every time I play a card. So I'm getting further and further at the moment. I'm sure it's going to fail horribly at some point, but it's about collecting all the cards, playing actual poker hands. I thought poker hands were really complicated until I realized there isn't actually that many, is there? There's 10 different things you can
I don't
play.
know. I've never been able to capture.
I thought there was so many. It was really hard to remember all the different cards that you can play.
Well, clearly not, because people play it a lot.
Yeah, well, it is actually when you've played it for an hour, all that's committed to memory, which it took me an hour to really get into it. And then I was I could see myself firing this up every day and just playing a few rounds like you do with Solitaire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Balatro. It's actually the number one selling Steam game at the moment in the charts. So people do like a bit of card poker. Sid Talk, what's for dinner?
I think we're going for the jersey of the mic.
We're going to Jersey?
I think so. If I change my mind, they'll know next week. I'll tell them.
And what is your advice? And let's get out of here.
My advice isn't advice, as we like to say around here. It's just a thing that I think.
Yes.
I've come to a conclusion, as we like to say. You, I'll put that in quotation marks because I don't mean you specifically, listener, person, but you, anyone in the world.
Oh.
Yeah. You, even you too.
You.
A Scully. You can decide for yourself. Make your own choice. Make up whatever you want. How your interactions with me, your knowledge of me, what you think of me, how I take up space inside of your head. You can decide that. You can decide who you want me to be, who you think I am. You can interpret anything I say or do. I don't give a shit. You do it. All of that's in your mind, right? It's all you. That's fine. You are not entitled to then manipulate me into being that fictional version you've created. So if you've decided based on something like what I do or don't believe, or what I do or don't think about any presidential election or politic, or how you raise children, or cats and dogs, or music, or sports, or movies, or anything. If you've formed an entire version of me and you think it's a whole person and you don't like her, and then you're like, well, I'm manipulating her in reality to be that, either by telling other people that or treating me that way to kind of get me to come over to be like what you want me to be or whatever, or what you think I am. Not going to work.
No?
Well, that's it.
Oh, that's the end.
That's the end. See, I threw a quick ending at you, which you don't like.
It was I don't like, listen, people who make TV shows.
And videos and YouTube videos.
Don't just end. Tell me that it's ending.
There's this thing, a rhythm that you get from most things. You're going to do the rhythm of this show, and this is and we're on Twitter and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And blah, blah. Right. If you just stopped talking and ended it, that would drive you insane.
It would drive me insane. It feels like it wasn't finished.
You like the whole package still.
Yes.
When videos or shows end, you're just like, what? Is that it?
That's it.
So that's all I'm doing. I'm like, that's it. I'm done talking.
All right, so ascully.com, that's the place you can go to get this podcast. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. They're the social media places. I'm A Scully, she's Sid Talk. You can find us both there. Not that we post a lot. Maybe you do. I don't. I'll tell you what I'm watching every Saturday. And then you'll know what podcast it is coming up. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube. You can email feedback, ascully@ascully.com. Don't email feedback to Sid Talk. She doesn't want your email. And stay classy, Mr. Matthew Vaughn. Let's see what you've got next.
And I'm going to say, think for yourself, because if you're not doing it, someone's definitely doing it for you.